Good morning, welcome to the Travel Channel. And here with us we have an expert, Lawrence Quesada. Welcome.
Thank you for having me this morning, Luz.
I heard you have traveled around the world. Tell me how many countries have you visited?
Well, let's put it this way. I've visited a lot of countries, but traveled basically to all six continents except Antarctica, which is one of my few regrets. Once my family went a few years back, I was supposed to go, but work got so much in the way I was unable. But that is one of my next destinations.
When are you planning to do the trip?
My next trip to South America, hopefully, which should bring me directly to Antarctica.
Okay.
Maybe in a year or two. We'll see.
And what attracts you to go to Antarctica?
It's one of the few places people rarely get to see. As we all know, global warming is a big issue right now. The icebergs are probably melting, and this may be one of the last chance, not only for me to go, but the last chance for humanity to enjoy Antarctica. I don't want to sound pessimistic or negative, but there is a lot of things going on in the world right now, and the best time to see things, the best time to travel is actually now. And what better way to travel than the often or the less explored frontiers of our world?
Okay. If anybody on the audience would want to go to a place where it's not that expensive and they're gonna have such an amazing time, what would you recommend? What place?
That actually depends. If they're more into, let's say, adventures, they want to see something like spiritual, something unique, then I would travel to either Nepal or India, which I actually came from last January. It's such a different place and such a unique place that you can't phantom all of it in one trip. Another place I would actually recommend is actually one of my favorite places to go is actually the country of Japan. Japan to me, I would recommend it to a lot of people, but they should also understand their culture is very unique, especially the people. I think the people is one of the best things, or it's one of the reasons why I keep going back to Japan.
In what way are the Japanese unique or the culture?
They're very polite. Not only are they very polite, they understand, they're very accommodating, and they're just good people. I can sit here, keep on explaining how they are. I can keep explaining how the Japanese are, how the Indians are, how the Australians are, Canadians, Europeans, Africans, or whatever. But the best way to really understand Japan or these other countries is for you to visit. And once you visit, I wouldn't recommend to always go on a tour. I would recommend going on an adventure, going on side streets you've never heard of, and actually interacting with the local. That way you would understand how people are. And more often than not, you would see a striking resemblance. Not how we look, well, of course, how we look as well, but we do share a lot of things in common.
If someone wants to read a book
Yes.
about travel, what would you recommend and how much? Well, that question first. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about. If you would still like to buy a book, there are a lot of books out there. The more popular ones are the Frommer's books. But we have this thing called the internet. We have Google, we have Yahoo. All you have to do is go in there and find places you want to go. You see maybe somewhere on Instagram a beautiful waterfalls by the snow. Find out where that is. Go to Expedia. Book your ticket. Try to find what the nearest airport is. And just do your own planning. I like doing my own planning rather than going to travel agencies. Not only do I think it's more affordable, but it's actually more adventurous.
Yeah.
Yes, you are going to be placed in very uncomfortable situations at times. The culture may sometimes be shocking, but guess what? You create memories which you can pass on to your children, your grandchildren, and believe me, The moment I grow old and my grandchildren will come talking to me, you're not gonna get bored. I'm gonna have lots of things to talk about.
Yeah. If I want to go, you mentioned Nepal, India,
Yes.
and you mentioned Japan.
Mhm.
If I want to go to Nepal, how much money would I have to save or, spend in going to that trip?
It depends what time of year. Let's put it this way: if we're in Los Angeles right now. If you're willing to take a 16-hour trip first to Qatar, which is very long, I think it's one of the longest trips I've been to. You take a 16-hour trip and another 4 any hour half trip from Qatar to, let's say, Kathmandu in Nepal. January, I'd say the plane ticket alone is less than $1,000. But if you're in Nepal, it depends on how much you want to spend. It depends on what you want to do. You can, let's say, save $1,000 or about $2,000 for about a week and a half, or almost 2 weeks. And it
Okay.
also depends on what you do.
Wow.
If you're willing to buy some souvenirs or climb to Mount Everest and talk to the Buddhist monk at the top of the hill, or it's whatever you want to do. Mount Everest, though, let's say going to Nepal is just $1,000, a plane ticket. But if you want to climb Everest, it can cost you as much as $75,000 or $100,000. So it really depends on what your preferences are. I myself, I like to walk around town. Some people would jump off the roof and find more adventurous things.
So you're telling me that it's cheaper to go to Nepal than to go to Las Vegas.
Yes, it is.
Oh my God.
Las Vegas is a 4-hour trip from here, and you do the same thing over and over and over. I love it, but you have to do the same thing over and over. You go to, let's say, some other places. Oh yes, I'd love to travel to this place, but what do I get to see? I get to see the mall every time. I don't like to see malls every time. I'd like to see what God has given us. I'd like to see the great boundaries this earth has to offer.
Okay. Your final thought for the audience, something that you want to leave, and places you would recommend, or the place that you would recommend to go today.
Okay, today. Right now, what I would tell our audience is the best time to really travel is right now. People think it's too expensive, but we have the internet, we have our social media, we have a lot of technologies which allows us to do it. And one of the places I would recommend right now, aside from the places I've mentioned earlier, is let's try to go to New Zealand. New Zealand, I think it's also an amazing frontier. Grass is always green, not on the other side, but it's so green, lots of sheep, lots of cool things to do in New Zealand. And I think it's very fresh.
Wow.
And I'm not into rugby, but I'm sure some of our audience members will be into rugby.
Wow. Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Lawrence, and thank you so much for another day of adventures here with Lawrence Quesada in the Travel Channel.
Thank you.